Arthur lived a life of deliberate order. His apartment was a testament to minimalism, a sterile landscape of whites and grays. His desk at the architectural firm was a perfect grid of pens and paper. Every shirt in his closet was hung with exactly 1 inch of space between the hangers. This rigid control was his dam, holding back the chaotic flood that threatened to drown him every night. The flood had a name: the corridor. It began the same way, always: the sensation of falling, followed by the jarring impact of his bare feet on cold, polished linoleum. He would find himself standing at the entrance of a hallway that stretched into an impossible, sterile infinity. The walls were a blinding white, the light source was non-existent yet omnipresent, and the silence was so profound it buzzed in his ears. Then the sound, a soft, wet shuffle from the darkness behind him. He never needed to look. He knew what it was: the faceless thing. Panic, cold and electric, would seize him. His meticulously ordered world would crumble, replaced by a singular primal instinct: run. And so he ran. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he never slowed. The shuffling sound was his metronome, a steady, relentless beat that was always just behind him. He could feel its presence, a cold spot on the back of his neck, the oppressive weight of its gaze, even though it had no eyes. He never saw a face, just a vaguely human-shaped void, a silhouette cut from the fabric of shadow itself, clad in what looked like damp, tattered rags. The chase would continue for what felt like an eternity down the corridor that never ended, but it always did end. The creature's shuffling would get closer, faster. The cold on his neck would intensify. He could almost feel its breath, though he knew it didn't breathe. Just as a shadowy hand reached for his shoulder, just as its fingers were about to graze his skin, Arthur would wake up. He would be sitting bolt upright in his bed, drenched in sweat, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. The silence of his apartment would feel just as oppressive as the silence of the corridor. For 10 years, this was his reality. The nightmare had eroded him, chipping away at the man he was. He was perpetually exhausted. Dark circles were permanent fixtures under his eyes. His relationships frayed and snapped. How could you explain to someone that you couldn't stay the night because a formless entity was going to chase you down a phantom hallway? His work, once his passion, became a struggle. The clean lines he designed on paper mocked the chaos in his mind. He tried everything. Therapists offered theories of anxiety and stress. Sleep specialists monitored his brainwaves and found nothing unusual. He tried medication that left him groggy and disconnected, but still, the corridor waited for him. One night, after a particularly harrowing chase, Arthur found himself staring at his reflection in the bathroom mirror at 3 a.m. The man looking back was a hollowed-out stranger. The rigid control had failed. The dam was cracking. And in that moment of raw desperation, a new thought, terrifying and liberating, took root. What if he stopped running? The idea was insane. Every fiber of his being screamed against it. To stop was to be caught. To be caught was what? He didn't know. That was the core of the terror, the unknown fate that awaited him at the creature's touch. But what was the alternative? A lifetime of running? A slow descent into madness? He spent the next week preparing for his confrontation. He read about lucid dreaming, practicing reality checks throughout the day, hoping to carry the awareness into his sleep. He repeated a mantra to himself, a desperate prayer. I will not run. I will turn. I will face it. That night, as his feet hit the cold linoleum, the familiar dread washed over him. The shuffling began. His legs tensed, his body already coiling to spring forward. No. He clenched his fists, digging his nails into his palms. I will not run. He forced his feet to remain planted. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. Every survival instinct shrieked at him to flee. The shuffling grew louder, closer. The cold spot on his neck bloomed, a patch of frost spreading across his skin. He could feel it now, just a few feet away. His body trembled uncontrollably. With a final, monumental effort of will, he turned around. And for the first time in 10 years, he saw it clearly. It was tall and gaunt, its form wavering like a heat haze. The tattered rags it wore seemed to absorb the light around them. And its head was a perfect, smooth blank. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. A horrifying canvas of nothingness. Arthur's breath hitched. He expected it to lunge, to tear him apart, but it didn't. It simply stood there, its featureless face aimed at him. The shuffling stopped. The buzzing silence returned. Slowly, as if moving through water, the creature raised a hand. Its fingers were long and thin, like dead branches. Arthur flinched, bracing for the end. But the hand didn't reach for his throat. It opened, palm up. And in its palm lay a small object. It was a toy car, a little die-cast model, its red paint chipped and faded at the edges. The sight of it hit Arthur like a physical blow. A wave of vertigo sent him staggering back. The corridor shimmered, the white walls bleeding into static. The red car? He knew that car. Where did he know it from? A fog in his mind, thick and protective, resisted him. "What do you want?" Arthur whispered, his voice hoarse. The creature didn't answer. It couldn't. It had no mouth. It just extended its hand further, offering the toy. Arthur stared at the car, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and dawning horror. Red. It was Leo's favorite. Leo. The name was a key that unlocked a door he had bricked up and forgotten for 25 years. The dam didn't just crack, it exploded. The memory didn't trickle in, it was a tidal wave. He is 7 years old, the sun is warm on his skin. He is in the front yard of their old house, the one with the big oak tree. He is supposed to be watching his little brother, Leo, who is only 4. Leo with his bright, mischievous eyes and a laugh that sounded like tiny bells. Their mother calls from the front porch. "Arthur, can you come help me with these groceries for a second?" "Keep an eye on him," she says as Arthur runs to her. "I will," he calls back. But he gets distracted. The grocery bags are heavy and he's proud to be helping. Then he sees a comic book he wanted peeking out from one of the bags. He pulls it out, his attention completely captured by the colorful panels of superheroes. He forgets about the yard. He forgets about Leo. He only looks up when he hears the sound, a high-pitched, frantic screech of tires, followed by a sickening thud, and then a silence more terrible than any scream. He runs. The comic book flutters from his hand. He sees the little red car lying in the middle of the road, and a few feet away, a small, still shape. The world dissolves into a blur of shouting adults, flashing lights, and a wail that he only later realizes is coming from his own throat. The guilt was a poison. It was too much for a 7-year-old mind to bear. The grief, the responsibility, the image of that little red car on the asphalt. His mind did the only thing it could to survive. It built a wall. It locked the memory away in the deepest, darkest dungeon of its subconscious and threw away the key. He didn't just forget the accident, he forgot the depth of his bond with Leo. He forgot the sound of his laugh. In time, Leo became a faded photograph, a sad story his parents rarely spoke of. Arthur grew up, burying the boy he was under layers of control and order. He had, in essence, lost his face. The face of a brother, the face of a child shattered by trauma. Back in the corridor, tears streamed down Arthur's face, hot against his cold skin. He looked from the toy car to the faceless creature. He understood now. It wasn't a monster. It was a messenger. It was him. The part of him he had abandoned, the 7-year-old boy drowning in guilt. It wasn't chasing him to hurt him. It was chasing him to return what he had lost. It was trying to give him back his face. He slowly reached out a trembling hand and took the small, cold car from the creature's palm. The moment his fingers closed around it, the figure began to change. The blank canvas of its head began to ripple. Features started to emerge from the void, not of a monster, but of a child. It was his own face at 7 years old, contorted in anguish and sorrow. The faceless thing was the face of his own repressed grief. Arthur collapsed to his knees, clutching the toy car to his chest and sobbed. He wept for the brother he had lost, for the boy he had been, and for the man he had become, a hollow shell running from a ghost that was only trying to make him whole. The infinite corridor dissolved around him, the white walls fading into a gentle light. Arthur woke up. There was no jolt, no scream. The sun was filtering through his blinds, casting lines across his orderly room. The air was still. For the first time in a decade, he felt a profound sense of peace. The chase was over. He looked at his hand. It was empty, but he could still feel the phantom weight of the little red car, a painful, precious burden he was finally ready to carry. He knew what he had to do. Later that day, for the first time in over 20 years, Arthur visited a small, quiet cemetery on the outskirts of town. He found the gravestone, weathered and overgrown with ivy. He knelt, clearing away the leaves and weeds. Leo Miller, beloved son and brother. He placed a hand on the cool stone. A new toy car, a bright, shiny red one he had bought on the way, sat gently at its base. "I'm sorry, Leo," he whispered, the words a crack in the dam of his decades-long silence.